Leader of the squad says America has nothing to fear. New York Congresswoman AOC is waving off Republican warnings now about socialism, about communism. She says the right is just trying to scare off voters about the growing progressive wing of her party.
Isn't there concern that, this slippery slope towards socialism inevitably ends up as full-blown communism? I'm not concerned about America turning into a communist country. I think it's very silly. Do Republicans really think that this stuff is going to happen? No, they don't. They're trying to scare people because they don't want us talking about the fact that we all have a right to health care in this country. So they want to call it communist, and they want to call everything they don't like communist, because if people actually wake up to the fact that their elected officials are screwing them over when they get here.
So meanwhile, Pete Buttigieg joined us on America Reports earlier today. He compared the rise of socialism to the rise of Donald Trump and MAGA.
There's always going to be some people in my party who go too far for me, people I disagree with. I think one of the reasons why you see people who run on a promise of shaking it up, whether it's a DSA candidate on the left or whether it's someone like Donald Trump, is because people can tell that the system we have is not just showing its age, it's letting us down. That system can change. There's a way to do that that is not destructive.
What kind of Jesse, it seems like the folks who are most alarmed about the sudden surge in DSA candidates is perhaps the establishment of the Democratic Party itself. Everybody seems very eager to pretend they have no idea what anybody's talking about. They never heard of them. They never saw them.
Well, communism is scary. I'm more scared of communism than snakes. Snakes aren't going to take my money and my property. Communism will. Communism will take my job. Mondani says he wants to seize the means of production. He said it. It's on tape. We'll show you at 8 o'clock. Now, that means if Kamala's elected, they seize Fox. That means I lose not one, but 2 shows, and Jessica gets them. Is that a good thing? No. Is it scary? Absolutely. Am I that scared? No, because we're going to beat them. They say they want to destroy Western civilization. I love Western civilization. I'm having a great time here. We all are. Do you want to give it all back to the Indians? No, absolutely not. They also say they want to abolish prisons and police and borders. Now, I take that as a threat. That sounds scary. That sounds like they want to hurt me. Okay? I don't like that. They also say they want to take my doctor. All right? Siegel gives me whatever I want. I get pills. I get procedures. Some of them are cosmetic. And then they want to make sure everybody has a government doctor. Okay? Think about that. So everybody gets free teeth, free vasectomies, free sex change surgeries. There are 330 million Americans here. If everyone's getting free procedures, we're bankrupt. Do the math.
Don't take this the wrong way, but I don't think the commies want your job.
Yes, they do.
Or
they would love to see me go digging ditches in the Bronx. They would love that. And you too, Jessica, they don't like capitalism. That means you don't get paid.
I have to do your show for free?
Yes. 2.
Well, I already do this show with you.
Yeah, but Jessica, it's going to be a mess. Seats? And you know it's a mess. And now they're trying to redefine what it is. They're like, oh, well, public libraries, that's like socialism, or the fire department. We've had those things for centuries. That's not what you think it is, you idiot. I just think they're lazy. And I could go on and on about these people. They don't want to work, so they want to just wreck the whole thing. And I won't let them. And you should join us, Jessica, and say, stop, freeze, put your hands behind your back, and we're going to throw you in prison. You want to empty the prisons? We're going to stuff you in one. I think there are laws on the books about communism in this country. It's illegal.
Are you still talking?
Apparently I am. No one has interrupted me. This is like if I had a podcast.
Did our producers go out for drinks or something?
No, they're in my ear. Okay, sorry. All right. Listen, Charlie, it baffles me, and I want to hear your take on this too, that people are so surprised by this so-called surge of socialism and socialist thought on the left. AOC, she's hardly an upstart candidate anymore. She's been in office for what, like 8 years or something at this. This is not a new line of reasoning.
Yeah, and she has, for a long time, captured all of the energy of the party. And I think a big reason we're talking about all this today is because of her ability to sell this corrupt message in a nice package. But I also think that, to listen to Pete Buttigieg talk about how, like, comparing the DSA move, the communist movement, to the Trump movement, it could not be a dumber analysis that you could make. The whole point of Trump, just like the Tea Party before Trump, was because people were frustrated and they wanted politicians to move back towards the Constitution. And it succeeded. It worked. And President Trump does a better job of representing actual voters than any other politician before him. This DSA crowd, these people are full-blown communists. They're trying to drag they're succeeding at dragging the Democrat Party away from the center of the Constitution, off some leftward lurch that's going to ruin the country if they actually get control. I don't think they're going to get control, because I think in most of America, you have sane people who are just not going to support the nonsense.
The hook, Greg, with these candidates is always the same before they sort of veer off into anti-Israel, anti-Senate, anti-Supreme Court stuff. The hook is always income inequality, this wealth gap that's widening, people are unhappy, and that's it.
Yeah, and as if they have the solution for it. But they don't tell you what that solution is. AOC is pushing a hoax. Socialism is not a working class phenomenon. It doesn't come from plumbers, electricians, or welders. It comes from people who majored in degrees that do no good for them. They're white elitists, or the brats of upper middle class intellects who cosplay as proletariats. Look at Mayor Zoran, a rapper Nepo baby of a left-wing professor and a movie director. He just, he moved here at 7. He becomes a citizen 20 years later. Does he have an authentic blue-collar American experience? Does he even know what that is? So should we be scared? I think that if you could see what's coming, you should be scared, because most radical revolutions are carried out by a small, determined minority. It's not the active participation of the majority of the population. The broader population is usually taken by surprise in these matters, because by nature, we're kind of passive politically, and that allows a tight-knit group of elites to seize power, first through a party, then through the cities, communications, i.e. the media, academia. The Bolsheviks were a minority party. The Cuban Revolution was started by 82 men. China under Mao, that was done through, I guess, controlling party cadres. These all start small, but the ingredient that helps them succeed is passivity. AOC's laugh is deliberate. It's telling you not to notice, that you're silly for noticing, that you're silly for being worried. Relax, there's nothing to see here, because socialism's ascendance is based on us being passive, the same way they gaslit us with Joe Biden. You noticed he was off? No. Sharp as a tack. Keep them passive. Don't let them notice the truth. God forbid you notice the truth. So that's what they're doing right now. It's not that big of a deal. Hey, it's almost just like MAGA.
Jess, you get the last word.
Great. So AOC is laughing because she's bored of getting the same line of attack. And it makes me think about what you say, Greg, when you say, you've been calling me a Nazi a long time. Doesn't mean anything to me. You called him Hitler starting in 2016. Your words don't matter anymore. That's what she's saying back to you. You've been calling every Democratic candidate for over a decade a socialist or communist.
The socialists are calling themselves socialists. We didn't name them the DSA.
Well,
they did.
The fun part. First of all, and to your point, Charlie, which I think is a sound one, let's see how many elections DSA candidates win, and let's see where they win them. So if they take over the big blue cities, I get that. If they start winning swing districts, if al-Sayed is going to be the candidate on the ballot line against Mike Rogers in Michigan, then we're going to have a different conversation. But you say that's the point of socialism. You keep them passive. And I could make the argument, and I will make the argument, that you guys have been kept passive because you didn't say anything when Donald Trump took a stake in U.S. Steel or in Intel. If a Democratic president had done that, you would have lost your mind. You would have said, socialism is coming to the shore.
Explain the stake and how it works, please.
Like, how is that the same as
It is
socialism?
a
Please
private
explain that to me.
company that the government, so in socialism and really in full-blown communism, I guess, is supposed to own the means of production, to control every facet of life in said country. So when Donald Trump says, hey, I'd like 10%. This is a nice business you got over there. I'd like 10% of it.
That's never been done before.
He's not controlling the company.
Not
He's
here.
just putting money into it. It's industrial policy.
No, they have to pay a tithe to the U.S. government. Everyone knows that. That's why they show up in the Oval
Didn't
Office.
we do that with the banks and the bailouts?
No,
it happens a
that
lot in
is
U.S.
different.
history.
No, it is absolutely different than the bailouts, and you absolutely
What
know
about
it.
Tesla? This happens a lot. The government
It's not
gives
just
money,
the
loans
government.
money, gets paid
It's
back.
not just a government contract. It is ownership. It is part ownership of an American company that is supposed to be distinct from the government. If you were not being massive hypocrites, but you are, and we are out of time.
So you should love it then, right? Because you're
so you
a
admit that
liberal.
it's going
No,
up.
I'm just
No,
going
well,
through your
actually,
line of
I'm
logic.
not a
You should
socialist.
but you should like it
I'm a
because the
normal
taxpayers
corporatist
made
Dem.
billions of dollars on that investment.
wish
That
that
also
were true.
is an absolute lie. His investment level, what is he, at 19 trillion or whatever that's coming into the coffers? They're paying more out than they're taking in because of their illegal tariffs anyway.
Intel or the rest of the country?
the
What are you
government.
talking about?
Well, you're
No,
talking
the
about-
investment the United States government made in Intel made a lot of money for the taxpayer.
Yeah, the American taxpayer feels like they're getting a lot out of this administration. Over 70% says he's not paying attention to
You're
their
just
basic
rambling.
needs.
I'm talking about we made a lot of money on that investment.
We
Guys,
The
this
US
segment is
taxpayer.
7 minutes over.
And we'll probably get out
you're getting,
and
you're
then
not
pay
gonna get
down the
anything.
debt
All right,
with it.
stick
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.